And when I started reading the Bible, for the first page, for example, it said that, God created the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day he rested and got refreshed. It didn't make sense. So the first thing I read was beginning of Surah Baqarah, second chapter. And at that time, I can't even describe what happened. As I was reading it, I started having tears floating out of my eyes. Like my body started shaking. I started crying.
Ini adalah ayah yang terlahir dari keluarga Kristen dan Yahudi. Ia dibesarkan di keluarga yang kurang religius, yang membuatnya menjadi seorang yang tidak peduli pada agama. Pada satu waktu, ayah mengalami depresi dan hal buruk terjadi dalam hidupnya. Pada saat itu, ayah mulai memutuskan untuk mencari Tuhan. Ayah menempuh perjalanan sangat panjang untuk menemukan Islam, mulai dari mempelajari agama Kristen, Buddha, Hindu, politeisme, dan pernah menjadi ateis. Saat membaca Bible, ayah menemukan banyak kontradiksi di dalamnya, seperti penciptaan alam semesta, di mana Tuhan beristirahat di hari ke-7 penciptaan alam semesta. Menurut ayah, istirahat adalah sifat manusia.
I'm originally from Russia. My family came to America when I was 9 years old. And my mom is Christian and my dad is Jewish. My stepdad, but he raised me. He's Jewish. So I was raised in a semi-religious Jewish Christian family. So religion was never a topic that I would think of or even care about until I hit my teenage years and I hit depression and just overwhelming emotions and going through a whole bunch of stuff that I felt that I need to connect with something higher. So I decided to look into God. And when I started reading the Bible, it was like for the first page, for example, it said that, God created the world in 6 days and on the seventh day he rested and got refreshed. To me, it was just, it didn't make sense. I was like, God rested, refreshed, like, no, it was not feeling right. I felt like these are human qualities. In my mind, I felt like God is something, he's our creator, he's something bigger, doesn't need no rest, he doesn't need none of that. So I saw the flaws in the Bible. So I figured, you know what, I was right. It is the tales of the ancients, nobody cares about it, forget it.
Setelah mempelajari agama Kristen, ayah mempelajari agama Buddha. Saat mempelajari agama Buddha, ayah merasa tidak nyaman karena ia merasakan bahwa agama Buddha seperti cara menjalani hidup yang tidak ada hubungan antara Tuhan dengan dirinya.
But maybe it is not Christianity, maybe I'm just looking to a wrong religion, maybe I should look into Buddhism. And so I started looking into Buddhism and concept of Tao, which was actually very interesting, but there was also things that threw me off because Buddhism is not it's not a religion, okay? Buddhism is just kind of a way of life, I guess. So there was no connection with God for me. So that was also put aside.
Setelah agama Buddha, ayah mencoba mempelajari agama Hindu. Namun ayah juga tidak menemukan jawaban yang ia cari selama ini tentang Tuhan. Namun ayah tidak menyerah begitu saja. Ia terus mencari Tuhan dengan agama berikutnya yang akan ia pelajari.
So after Buddhism, the next thing I looked into was actually Hinduism. I figured they're very ancient religion, they know what's going on. Maybe I should be meditating Kundalini and, just those kind of things. So I looked into Hinduism. It was just done. I was like, I can't follow this, I cannot. Buddhism is not really religion. Hinduism is to me, it was nonsensical because of their descriptions of God, and Christianity just didn't make any sense either because I saw so much contradictions and mistakes from my point of view, from my kind of an inner belief in God.
Dan ayah sekarang mencoba mempelajari politeisme. Politeisme adalah bentuk kepercayaan yang mengakui adanya lebih dari satu Tuhan atau menyembah dewa. Namun politeisme juga tidak bisa menjawab pertanyaan-pertanyaan ayah tentang Tuhan. Kali ini ayah benar-benar menyerah, karena semua itu hanya membuang-buang waktu, dan itu membawanya menjadi ateis.
So, what I looked into after that was polytheism. I was like, you know what? Maybe religions of even more ancient people are right.Maybe the whole, statue worshipping thing, like, is a thing. Maybe they're just spirits that created this universe, and if we have these statues, that's how we connect with them. So it was a funny story because at that time I actually decided to go and buy a statue. Yes. I went to the store. It's called Psychic Eye. It's some kind of a new age store, and I walk in there and I'm like, I want to buy a statue of God. Do you have any? And as I said that, I realized how dumb I sound, and how like the guy's gonna kick me out of here. But instead, he looks at me, he's like, yes, we do. Which one would you like? And the whole situation was just so hilarious for me. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm thinking to myself, I'm here to buy a statue of God, God Almighty. And the guy's like, yeah, sure. Like, it's a normal thing. Needless to say, I didn't buy anything. I went home, I was like, you know what? This is the end. I no longer believe in religion. It's all nonsense. I'm crazy, and this gotta stop. And this is how I became an atheist. I decided that there is no God, none of this is true, it's just I'm wasting my time.
Ayah menjalani hidup sebagai ateis yang membawanya kepada kegelapan. Ia mulai minum alkohol, party, dan melakukan hal negatif lainnya yang berdampak buruk pada dirinya, yang membuat dirinya depresi. Ayah menyadari bahwa hidup yang dia jalani tidak membuatnya bahagia. Dia juga merasa hidupnya tidak berguna.
Those deeds, though, everything that I was doing, eventually it made me feel miserable. It made me feel like there's just nothing out there, life is pointless. I could do all this evil stuff and I could get a whole bunch of money doing it, but I don't feel happy. I don't feel complete. I don't feel my life is worth anything. And I got seriously depressed. Like, I had a concept in my mind that I knew, okay, if there is God, this is how he should be. He cannot be a human. He cannot be something that eats and sleeps. He cannot have like 2 arms, 3 arms, or be blue, green, whatever. Like, it has to be something out there, because I could feel it. I didn't have knowledge of it. The closest thing I knew to God was Christianity, and that just was not cutting it.
Akhirnya, ayah menemukan Islam saat dia dan teman-temannya berada di suatu bar, dan di sebelahnya ada sekelompok pria yang sedang membicarakan tentang Islam, lalu ayah mencoba mendengarkan pembicaraan tersebut. Namun, ayah tidak tahu tentang Islam karena tidak pernah muncul atau terdengar selama hidupnya. Beberapa hari kemudian, saat ayah sedang bekerja, percakapan itu muncul di pikirannya, dan ia mencoba searching di internet tentang Islam. Kemudian ia membeli Al-Quran dan membacanya.
And I remember one time, me and my girlfriends, we were actually at a bar, and there was a group of guys standing there, and I could hear the conversation, and I've noticed one of the guys' name was Islam. His name was Islam. And I'm trying to listen kind of to what they're talking about, because we're just all standing outside and I could hear them. And I hear one of them saying that, yeah, there's this religion. Like, I could hear them talking about Islam. I'm not sure even how their conversation about that started, but what I got out of it, that Islam is a religion. And up until then, I used to think Islam is like some city in the Middle East, where like these crazy terrorist people are from. I never even considered it a religion. Like, from the religions I was reading about, Islam just never came up. Anyway, it just got stuck in my head. So a few days later, I was actually at work, and their conversation kind of popped up into my mind again. And I was like, you know what? Since I already know about all of these other worldviews, I want to kind of top it off. And I want to make sure I know everything about, everything in my mind. So I Googled Islam, found out that their book, they actually have a book, and it's the Quran, and decided to read it.
Saat membaca surah Al-Baqarah, ayah mulai menangis dan seluruh tubuhnya gemetar. Lalu ayah searching di internet bagaimana menjadi Muslim dan akhirnya ayah memutuskan mengucapkan syahada. Karena ayah sadar bahwa inilah yang dia cari selama ini dan ia rindukan. Masya Allah.
So the first thing I read was beginning of Surah Baqarah, second chapter. And at that time, I can't even describe what happened. As I was reading it, I started having tears floating out of my eyes. Like my body started shaking. I started crying. In my brain, I was like, "Oh my God, this is it." Like I didn't read nothing else. I have no concept of what Islam is. I just read that first page, and it was like a light bulb in my brain. It was just amazing for me. I could not stop myself from crying. Something happened inside my heart and my mind that I just couldn't stop. And I was at work. I had to leave the office. Tell them that something serious happened. I have to be outside for a few moments. I went outside and I just cried. Go back in there, Google how to become a Muslim, and it said, you have to read the Shahada. And I, in the English letters, actually read the Shahada right then and there without having no info on anything else. I just felt like this is what I was looking for and this is what I was missing. And that's how I became instantly a Muslim.
Ayah mulai mempelajari Islam lebih dalam dan membaca Al-Quran lebih banyak lagi. Dan yang bisa kita ambil pelajaran dari kisah ayah ini adalah semangat dan keyakinan ayah yang begitu kuat dalam mencari Tuhan yang sebenarnya. Semoga ayah mendapat berkah dan selalu dilindungi oleh Allah.